After the mom favoring boys over girls found out her son wasn't biologically hers, she rushed to do a paternity test overnight. In this second chance at life, the family members who caused my downfall can hear my thoughts. I smiled slightly. This will be easy. To the mom who favors boys over girls. Should I tell mom that the boy is actually switched at birth and is dad's child with another woman? Mom immediately rushed to the hospital, frantically checking the paternity. To the gambling-addicted dad. I heard dad lost so much money because the casino is owned by mom's first love, Ken. Dad's face darkened. He grabbed a knife and stormed out of the house. To the lazy and greedy brother. No way. Does my brother also not know that our parents are deliberately spoiling him? They plan to make him useless, so I can inherit everything. My brother put down the game console, looking angrily at our parents. I was reborn to the day I was about to drop out of school to work, with the newfound ability for my family to hear my thoughts. From that day, my most trusted family secretly moved to a new home, celebrating my departure all night. I was outside living frugally, continuously sending money home. It all went to my brother's housing fund and my dad's gambling. In the end, I got exhausted, developed cancer, and died in a foreign hospital with no money for treatment. My soul drifted aimlessly back home, where I learned of a bunch of dirty secrets. I thought mom would pity me, but as my soul faded away, I heard her proudly tell my brother, "Finally, your useless sister is dead, and all my money will go to my precious son." The moment I realized I was reborn, I coldly said to my beaming mom, "I'm not going out to work anymore." Hearing me, mom's stiff smile vanished and she anxiously said, "If you don't go out to work, what about your brother's tuition?" I coolly replied, "Doesn't dad have money? Let your son ask him." Seeing my mom about to blow up, I struck swiftly. "But the boy isn't even your biological child." What was that noise? Mom looked around, then focused on me. "What are you talking about?" I feigned innocence. "I didn't say anything, Mom." Then revealed the truth in my thoughts. Mom couldn't possibly hear my thoughts, might be her imagination. But I'm not going out to work, because I don't want mom to be deceived. Should I remind her to do a paternity test? The little brother isn't even her child. Mom glared at me for a long time, trembling. She went to knock on my brother's door. The chubby brother was immersed in his game. When someone knocked, he started cursing. Usually, mom would calm him with a smile, but now she ignored him and angrily responded to the insults. Perhaps my thoughts made mom realize something was wrong. Our family is slim. Why is he so overweight? Mom rushed into my brother's room, grabbed a hair while he wasn't looking, and left the house without turning back. My brother was scared, took off his headphones, but still grumbled. "What's that old woman doing?" I silently laughed, watching her leave. Turns out, breaking up a family is this easy. Then again, a family already cracked can't be solid. After usual dinner time, mom didn't return. Dad came home full of resentment, saw no dinner, and started shouting. I knew this miserable man had definitely gambled and lost again. Keeping up my old timid act, I went to the kitchen. As I walked past Dad, I voiced my thoughts. Dad is so mad because he lost at gambling again. What did you say? How dare you talk to me like that? Just as I was about to walk past Dad, hearing my thoughts, exploded with rage and grabbed my hair. Looking at his disgusting face, I tried to suppress nausea, tears in my eyes, and said, "I didn't say anything, Dad." I closed my mouth and continued thinking. I only feel sorry for Dad losing so much money. He doesn't know the casino is owned by Ken. I watched as his expression changed, then added, "Mom's first love, Clara's Ken." I was satisfied seeing veins pop in his angry face. He released my hair, pushed me aside, and furiously selected a chopping knife in the kitchen. Dad, what's wrong?" I pretended to be confused, not really knowing, but wanting to stop him. Ignoring me, muttering, "No wonder, I just knew, no wonder." He held the knife, storming out furious. Not long after, my gaming brother realized he was hungry. "I'm hungry. I want food." He squeezed through his door, eyeing me. "Mom's not here. You cook for me." Not looking up, calmly scrolling my phone. "No, I'm not hungry. Cook your own meal." Before I finished, he kicked me, and I fell, knocking against the table. "You dare go against me? You wait and see when Mom and Dad come back." Full of fat, He looked at me shocked, wanting to teach a lesson, then maliciously warned me. I acted like I didn't hear, thinking I should apologize as usual, despite everything. Because the more he jumps now, the harder he'll fall later. Sorry. Please don't tell Mom and Dad. I'll cook now. Should have done this sooner. Take this seriously. Cook already. He flopped on the couch gaming. I was heading to the kitchen when the door slammed open. Mom came back. I continued cooking nonchalantly. Naturally, as Mom entered, my brother rushed to tattle. I brought the food out and stopped him. You promised you'd keep quiet if I cooked for you. Seeing me all flustered, my brother got even smugger, rubbing his chubby face against Mom's arm. Mom, she wouldn't cook for me earlier. Your son was basically starving. I didn't, Mom, I didn't. I hurriedly explained, but Mom got up and gently pulled me into the kitchen. My brother thought she was going to scold me somewhere else, so he made a silly face at me, feeling proud. Mom closed the kitchen door, wearing a bitter expression, and said to me softly, "Thank you, Clara. I know it's been tough on you with your brother." Just as I expected, since the paternity test results weren't out yet. Of course she wouldn't want to upset the son she hopes will take care of her someday over a girl like me. I dropped my head and rolled my eyes dramatically, saying in my mind, "No matter what I say, Mom won't believe me." My brother's quite the little actor. He was the one calling her an old hag. And that's why I didn't want to cook for him. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Mom pause by the door before awkwardly leaving the room. Through the crack in the kitchen door, I could see my brother whining to her again like a big baby. A 300-pound baby at that. It was a ridiculous sight, really. But for the first time, she seemed to brush him off with an uneasy smile. Clueless, he shrugged it off and dove back into his games. The house was silent, except for his occasional loud insults and boasts while playing. But I knew this calm wouldn't last long, just like the calm before a storm. Sure enough, the landline rang, bringing news from the police. Dad had been caught causing a scene at the casino with a knife. At the police station, after being interrogated, he was loud in the mediation room. "Why should I settle? Why don't you guys investigate that Ken and his casino scam?" The man in front of him, with his square face, sighed in exasperation. "You think the police don't care? But you, too, won't get off so easily." Mom walked in just as the man was about to greet her, but Dad threw a punch, knocking him down. In the chaos, Mom tried to break up the fight, and the three ended up scuffling. Seeing this, the police quickly intervened, and it ended with a forced settlement. On one hand, a casino owner, on the other, a gambler causing trouble with a knife. If pursued, no one would come out unscathed. Back home, Dad was furious, grilling Mom about her relationship with Ken. "What's with you and him? You cheating on me?" Unfazed, my brother kept on with his game, acting like nothing was happening. Mom explained it over and over, met only with Dad's furious yelling, until she finally kicked the sofa in frustration. "All right, David, you don't trust me? Then what about Nolan?" David is Dad's name. Hearing my brother Nolan's name dragged into this mess had Dad shaken up. My brother seemed confused, but was quickly ushered to his room by Dad. "Nolan, go to your room. This doesn't concern you." Mom came over to me, her voice tender in a way I'd never known. "Clara, you head to your room too. Your dad and I have to talk. Is that bruise on your leg still hurting? I'll bring you some ointment tonight." But in my previous life, even up until I died, she never showed me such care. I thought she just wasn't good with affection, until my soul floated above and I could see it. The warm bond and reliance she had with my brother. Her sudden shift now was out of fear of having no one to rely on for support, if it wasn't for her son. Thinking of this, I faked a delighted look and obediently went to my room. That night, I nestled on my small bed, listening to the screams and sounds of things breaking outside my door, and drifted into a peaceful sleep. When the paternity test results came, I had already spent the money I'd saved for Mom's birthday on enrolling in a tutoring class. A week's worth of lessons was under my belt. This past week, amidst family chaos, I was largely left alone, savoring this rare peace. Something I couldn't dream of in my past life, busy with jobs to keep us afloat. After tutoring class, returning home, I could feel something was off. My brother, who's always holed up gaming, was nowhere to be seen. Mom sat alone on the sofa. Oh boy, the results must be out. Looks like she even sent Nolan away, just to cry on my shoulder. Trying hard to cling to her last hope for a retirement plan, huh? I swallowed down my smirk, acting concerned. Mom, you okay? She motioned for me to sit and started sobbing. Your dad. Oh no. Does she know my brother isn't his biological son? She seemed like she was about to speak up when my next thought stopped her cold. Apparently, Dad said the child she had back then died soon after birth due to organ failure. And though Nolan is actually the child he had with another woman. I paused, watching the anxious curiosity flicker in her eyes. Nolan doesn't know the truth. If we raise him well, he'll still care for her in the future. Her tears halted. Should I tell her? I figured. Actually, I do want to continue my studies. So even if he turns his back on her, I can still be her safety net. She poured me water, applying ointment on my bruises. Concluding my thoughts, I let out a sigh. So what's up with Dad, Mom? As I thought, after hearing my thoughts, she didn't say any more. Trying to pin everything on me? Not happening. This mess isn't over yet. After all, a mother biased towards her son would never entrust her future to me, even if her son isn't her own blood. After that day, my parents reconciled. She'd help Dad get kin to wipe the gambling debt, and he'd let me go to school. Her way of safeguarding her future. And the critical piece in my plan for revenge. After chaos erupted, I walked into campus feeling like I'd returned from another world. Mom, trying to ensure her retirement plan didn't fail, somehow scraped money from Dad's secret stash and borrowed from my grandparents to pay my tuition. If this was another life, I'd be too excited to sleep, thinking that Mom finally saw my worth. Honestly, I'm just as good as my brother. But in this life, I understand how toxic my family is, and I won't go soft-hearted. The cracks at home seem patched up by Mom and Dad pretending to get along. Yet they've teamed up again to belittle me. They harass me to get a part-time job after school, and threaten to pull me out if my grades aren't up to snuff. I nod and agree on the surface, saying I'll work nights after school. In reality, I head to tutoring straight after classes, get some pocket money helping younger students with their homework, and keep my parents off my back. I watched the fragile facade of this family with a malicious intent, waiting like a hunter for the right moment. A moment to shatter the rotting beams this family rests upon. That day, after tutoring, I came home to an empty house, with only the sound of my brother's gaming from his room wafting through the living room. I smirked. Opportunity knocked. After making dinner, my brother sat at the table, scarfing down food while still glued to his game. I whispered to myself, does my brother seriously not know that our parents are deliberately screwing him over? No response from him. He was lost in his game, oblivious to the world. Just his fingers hesitated briefly then. What the heck are you saying now? Shut up and don't bother me. Guess he heard something. Later that night, I went to his room with a glass of milk, throwing another comment his way. Still up late, huh? Guess that makes Mom and Dad pretty happy. In the full-length mirror near his door, I saw him sitting rigid at his computer, then turning to me with a bewildered expression. I pushed on. What a drag. Dad making me bring you milk this late. He must love you more. Ugh, so annoying. But hey, my poor bro, just gaming non-stop, not realizing our parents are just pampering him, so he ends up worthless and leaves all the inheritance to me. With that, I left the room, catching him staring dumbfounded in the mirror, lowering his controller, eyes fixed on my retreating figure. My brother isn't exactly sharp, but after enough of my whisper campaigns, and seeing our parents act weird during their fights, he began to believe a little truth. Finally, one dinner he broke his gaming hiatus, glaring at my parents. Dad, Mom, am I even your real son? Dad was first to react, trying to calm him with a smile. How could you think that, Nolan? Of course you're ours. Beside him, my mom paled, setting down her chopsticks, forcing a smile. Yeah, my baby. Why would you ask something like that? Nolan's eyes glared seriously, little like beans but somehow fierce on his chubby face. I bet I'm not even your real kid. I kept my head low, shoveling food in to hide the chuckles about to spill over. Their lies were just too funny. Seeing this chaos, my brother couldn't hold back. What's this then? He spat, thrusting a crumpled piece of paper at them. I clutched my bowl, immediately recognizing the paper as Mom's old paternity test. Who knew where she hid it? But with him home every day, my brother surely stumbled upon it. Without his usual temper, Dad calmly took the paper, as if expecting it. "Nolan, since you found out, it's time you know the truth." Ignoring Mom's pinch under the table, Dad, pale as a ghost, said, "You were adopted. But we've treated you as one of us all these years, haven't we?" I pulled out study materials under the table, eavesdropping on this juicy drama. I knew Dad's thinking. Nolan's figured it out. Might as well reel him back in with blood ties. Nolan interrupted angrily. "If you treated me as your own, why'd you let me game all day not caring if I went to school?" That hit a nerve. I swear I saw their lips twitch in unison. My poor foolish brother. Why didn't they push? "Because you never wanted to go, duh." Under Dad's pleading gaze, Mom, hesitant, played along. "We just didn't want you stressed. School can be so tough. Look at your sister, she's always so busy. Isn't gaming at home better?" She consoled herself with a reassuring pat, like saying to me not to worry. But I'd seen her greedy motives, never hidden, wanting a son to secure their future. Maybe Nolan caught a hint, his expression serious. "And Clara, you're making her study so she inherits everything, right?" Mom's eyes faltered, speechless. "Oh, Clara's just studying to support you," Dad chuckled nervously, promising, "You're the heir here." Watching Dad's false confidence, I couldn't help but smile to myself. Our family's fortune? Debt, perhaps. Maybe Dad's promise worked. My brother stopped talking and calmed down. The dining table returned to its peaceful silence. It looked calm, but we all had our own thoughts. But from the moment Dad acknowledged my brother's status as an adopted child, I caught a glimpse of her suddenly sinister look. Mom started worrying about her retirement insurance again. My brother changed. Since he learned about being adopted, I kept hinting through my thoughts about Dad's kindness towards him. In my past life, until the day I died, my brother was always closer to my mom who spoiled him. This time he leaned more towards Dad because of my hints. Noticing this, Mom started being nice to me again, often interrupting Dad's criticisms and giving me comforting looks. This protection didn't last long though. I noticed her hiding a smirk while looking at her phone when Dad inexplicably scolded me. I knew then that in this life Ken entered early. Their affair wasn't something I orchestrated. In my past life, I rushed home from work upon hearing Mom's affair had been exposed, wanting to help. I bought the train ticket myself. Who knew after over 20 hours on a hard-seat train, I'd return home to Dad's brutal abuse. Later, I overheard Mom coaxing Dad. She said her affair was just a retaliation for Dad's infidelity and professed her continued love for him. Dad, with an oily grin, said he felt sorry for her and couldn't bring himself to hurt her. Lying outside their door, I felt like a pitiful worm, disheartened. Feeling sorry for Mom meant taking it out on me? At that moment, I realized I was just a pawn in their twisted games. But returning to work and discovering my cancer came too late. In this life, I doubted Dad and Mom could keep up their loving facade after my brother's identity was exposed. Before I knew it, it was my sophomore year. For over half a year, I kept planting thoughts into Mom's head. My brother found out he's not her biological son. He even scolded her in front of me. That's just too much. Seeing how calm Dad was at the dinner table, is it all his doing? Is he planning to turn against Mom and be with that woman? No way. Mom's the only thing I care about. I'm really worried about her. What should she do? Alright. What about Uncle Wong? But never mind that. Hearing my thoughts, Mom spent her own money to enroll me in a tutoring class, pinning her retirement hopes on me. When dropping off milk for my brother under Dad's name, I shared more thoughts. The family atmosphere is so strange lately. Dad's often away, even when Mom's home alone. Whenever I talk to her, she's dismissive, glued to her phone with a silly smile. Mom's texting someone. I caught a glimpse. The name looked like Ken. So I focused on school during the day. After homework and tutoring, I went home, never forgetting to stir up family discord. My brother played fewer video games, often tagging along with Dad. When home, only Mom's lonely figure remained. Seeing this scene often, I knew the climax was near. I put on headphones, not playing any audio, but pretending to jam out to music. I quietly opened our front door. Even when no one was home, our living room light was always on. But now it was pitch black. I saw a sliver of light under the closed door of my parents' room. Noticing Mom's slippers absent from the shoe rack, I discreetly glanced at my brother's room. He wasn't there. I picked up my homework left on the table, pretending not to notice anything, and walked out. At tutoring, I logged into a long-prepared social media account. I found my brother's catfish account, sent a photo of an AI-generated girl, and using a voice changer whispered, "Hey, wanna play some games together?" The reply came quickly. "Sure, wait a sec, I'll go home and get on my computer." TCH, like father like son, seriously greasy. Hearing the teacher start the lecture, I uninstalled the app, turned off the phone, and enjoyed diving into my studies. After class, I eagerly checked my phone, seeing missed calls from Dad. The last one was half an hour ago. Puzzled, I called him back. His agitated voice mixed with insults. Unsure if he was worried about Mom or afraid his precious son might get arrested. Apparently, while Mom was fooling around with Ken in their bedroom, my brother came home early and caught them. Deep in their moment, they missed the furious eyes peeking through the door crack. The knife I painstakingly sharpened while cooking was finally put to use. My brother yelled and stormed into the room, wildly swinging the knife. Ken surprisingly acted chivalrous, shielding Mom a few times before passing out. Mom, chased persistently by my brother, in her underwear, tumbled down the stairs, ending up in a comatose state. Neighbors, hearing the commotion, swiftly called the police and 911. The ambulance arrived with the police, who assessed the situation and took my brother away. In the hospital, Mom lay motionless, ghostly pale. When I opened the door, Dad's grim face softened. He didn't berate me like usual. Instead, he beckoned kindly. "Clara, you're here." I wiped away tears, suppressing the joy of success. "Dad, what happened to Mom?" Dad hung his head low, covering his eyes with his hands. "The doctor said she might be in a vegetative state for the rest of her life, never waking up again." But in those eyes full of sadness and panic, I could see a hint of calm determination. It didn't take long for me to understand the look in Dad's eyes. He was gone. He took all the cash and valuables from the house. He even ignored the fact that my brother was still waiting at the police station for someone to pick him up. Not only that, but he also went to the tutoring center, made a scene, and took back all the money Mom had left there. I suspect that if it were possible, he'd have stayed a few more days to get back the high school tuition fees too. Staring at the chaos he left behind in the house, I silently took out the little surveillance camera I had hidden earlier, stopped the recording, and burst into laughter. Because I now had the sharpest sword to deal with Dad. At the police station, my brother couldn't believe it when he saw it was me visiting him. "Why is it you? Where's Dad? It's been so many days. Why hasn't he come to get me out?" I gave a pale, helpless smile. "Nolan, Dad's been busy lately, so..." With a bang, his angry fist hit the glass, making the flesh on his face shake with emotion. "I don't believe it. Clara, did you say something to Dad?" Tears welled up in my eyes as I looked up. "It's been a week, Nolan. How can you be so naive?" I pulled out the edited surveillance video from my pocket and wiped the tears off my face. "Take a look for yourself, Nolan. I came to bail you out today. But if you still think Dad's doing okay, and I played some trick, just think of it as if you don't have a sister." My face remained firm, but the trembling of my hands as I handed over the phone betrayed how uneasy I was inside. My brother is my only family now, and I'd work day and night if I had to bail him out. But how could Dad be so cruel and just leave us behind? How could everything happen so conveniently? Now with Mom in the hospital and my brother at the police station, Dad just strolls away? Could all this be part of Dad's plan? Watching my brother view the footage of Dad escaping with the money, despair and despair were clear on his face. After a long pause, he finally spoke with difficulty. "Where'd you get the money?" I shrugged. "How else? By working." Walking hand in hand with my brother out of the police station, I made calls to our remaining relatives while he watched. Whether it was to Grandma or Grandpa, all I got was the cold beep of being blocked. And as for Mom, only Grandma on her side was left. When she heard about Mom's condition, she ruthlessly hung up. just as indifferent as learning of my death in a past life. In Grandma's eyes, even herself, women were the most humble beings in the world. We should apologize to him. My brother, now influenced by my heart, firmly believed that the mastermind behind this mess was Dad, who benefited the most. Surprisingly, Ken, who should have been angry after being attacked, didn't react as I expected. I thought we'd need to use threats or sob stories, but under Ken's calm gaze, my brother and I left with that bank card. He was not only willing to cover most of Mom's medical bills, but also gave us money to get through tough times. Back home, my brother couldn't help but swallow as he looked at the bank card in my hand. I pretended not to see his unsaid thoughts and gave a caring smile. Hungry? Let me cook for you. Turning to the kitchen, I counted my steps. 1 step, 2 steps. Given the situation, maybe you should drop out, sis. Look at that. My brother truly inherited Dad's selfishness and greed. His so-called suggestion for me to drop out to help the family was just a way to keep me home as his personal nanny. But it's exactly what I wanted. I'd mastered all the material in the second semester of junior year, at the tutoring center already. Now it's time to sharpen this unexposed knife, my brother, with my heartfelt efforts. With my indulgent care, my brother returned to his lazy gaming habits, but grew to trust me more. By day, I worked while searching for Dad, and by evening, I'd share my feelings. Working was so tiring today. Dad was so heartless to leave us and Mom in the hospital. I've heard from others that Dad left on a vacation carefreely. How could he not with all that money? I'm starting to believe Dad's really abandoned us. Though my brother played his game, it was obvious his frustration was growing. Often after fiercely playing, he'd curse for half an hour. I'd comfort him during those moments, using my heart's voice to stir up his anger further. Until the day I saw a familiar figure while working. He was with a pregnant woman. They looked lovingly at each other, leisurely shopping hand in hand. Anyone would compliment them as a loving couple. Even though the man wore a cap and sunglasses deliberately, I recognized him immediately. It was Dad, the one who fled with our money. I quickly took out my phone, and started filming them. I even caught a full-on video. It seemed the reason Dad could abandon his own flesh and blood was that woman. She was young and healthy, expecting a child with him. At home, the situation was dire. Mom was a vegetable. Brother was in the police. His daughter still needed educational support. No wonder he ran off so abruptly. As I watched them disappear, an audacious plan formed in my mind. After pinpointing their location, I monitored the spot again the next day. The day before, I had followed them to their place and overheard the woman whining to Dad about wanting new clothes. With all the money he had, Dad wouldn't miss the chance to please her. He promised she'd go shopping tomorrow. I'm working on a bubble tea order, pretending not to notice the people around me. But when I see that perfect couple walking my way, I drop everything. I burst through the door, blocking their path. Who are you? The woman, who was laughing with my dad a second ago, suddenly looks frosty. I ignore her and stare straight at Dad. Dad, how can you do this? The woman, dressed all fancy, steps aside with a sneer. David, take care of this. Don't make me step in. Usually, Dad has a temper, but around her, he's like a puppy, smiling timidly. Then turning to me, he lowers his voice and lets loose a stream of profanity. Clara, you better behave and mind your own business. Of course, Dad won't give up this new, cushy life he's built. He yanks my hand hard, not caring about my yelp of pain. Don't let me see you again or else. He glances over at the woman, hinting at her without words. Neither I nor Wendy will forgive you, he adds. I shout back at him, why? Why do you take all our family money and leave us? And still act like you're in the right? Almost immediately, his hand slaps across my face. You let her hit me? You don't care about Mom or my brother at all. You abandon us? Inside, I'm hoping Dad will hit me a few more times. It fuels my resolve for revenge. But my face is still full of hate and anger, ready to throw my hot bubble tea at him. Just then, out of nowhere, Grandma appears. She pushes me hard. The tea, originally intended for Dad's face, lands on Wendy instead. Wendy screams, frantically trying to wipe it off, launching a string of curses. Dad gives Grandma a look, then rushes to soothe Wendy, and they quickly leave the scene. I try to stop them, But Grandma trips me when I'm not looking. I hit the ground hard, my ankle swelling quickly. The commotion catches the attention of passers-by. Some take out their phones, snapping pictures and whispering. A few kind folks want to help but are spooked by my aggressive grandma, stopping them in their tracks. Grandma grabs my hair, whispering a threat in my ear. Clara, I suggest you mind your own business. Wendy's pregnant, and Chong is about to marry in. My future grandson will inherit the company, and I'll be the chairman's grandma. Her family is powerful, so you better not mess with your dad again, or you'll regret it. I pull away from her grip, tears streaming down my face, nodding in pain. Once Grandma is out of sight, I can't hold back the tears anymore. I cry openly, but they're tears of joy. Thanks to Grandma, I now know who the other woman is, and more importantly, what fuels my sharpened blade of revenge. Dad's about to have a new son. With Grandma gone, people come over to check on me. I wipe away the tears and tell them everything. About Mom who's in a vegetative state, my brother who's manipulated by Dad, and me, trying to work and study at the same time. And Dad, who took everything, left us for a better life, and now plans to move in with them. As more people gather, they look shocked and judgmental. A few rough-looking guys even wipe tears, saying, "This is terrible, sis. What can we do to help?" I make sure the crowd gets a good look at me before I turn down their offers and walk away, dragging myself wearily. Every bit of kindness heats my resolve, lighting up the dark scars I carry. I will be the only winner. Before I step back into the house, I've already lost my job at the bubble tea shop. Grandma was right about Wendy, she has pull. The manager calls, but it's dead silent on the line. Finally, I hear a weak apology. I know the manager's a good guy. He treated me kindly, even giving me an extra $200 a month, and allowing me to study in my free time at work. I say it's okay. I understand. Thanks for everything. When I stumble inside, my brother doesn't react. Headphones on, he lazily says, "You're back, sis." I'm hungry. Seeing no answer from me, he turns and gasps when he sees the state I'm in. "Who did this to you?" he asks, realizing how I look. Meeting his gaze, I say it was Dad. I ran into him today. He and Grandma did this. My brother goes to make 2 bowls of instant noodles. After I treat my wounds, I collapse onto the couch, knowing he's caught in a swirl of emotions. Maybe he still hopes Dad will come back or Grandma will remember him fondly. But perhaps there's also a growing shadow of bitterness. I'll snuff out his hope and fan that flicker of darkness until the flames roar. Then the blade will emerge. "Did Dad say anything?" he asks, eating quickly, pretending not to care about my bruises. I hold my bowl. "Dad told me to stay out of it." "And me? Did he mention me at all?" He cuts me off, not caring about my injuries. I shrug no. Who was there with a pregnant woman? With a clatter, his chopsticks hit the floor. Silence stretches on. I watched my brother's face change with a mix of feelings and thought to myself, Dad seems to be really backing that pregnant woman. Sigh, never mind. I shouldn't bother my brother with this. It'll just stress him out. My brother's hand shook as he picked up his chopsticks again. Grandma used to love him so much. How did that change overnight? He took the first bite of his noodles, looking defeated. I heard it's because the woman Dad is seeing is the heiress of some big company. No wonder Dad, who's usually got a bad temper, is suddenly so patient, shopping with her, and everything while playing the stay-at-home husband role. If he can hold on to those connections, that's a lot of cash coming his way. My brother looked up at me. Grandma said Dad's got himself into this wealthy circle, and he'll soon become the board chairman. Money won't be an issue now. There's no hope for me. But maybe my brother could talk to Dad? If my brother went to ask Dad, he might bring him into that world, given how much he used to care for him. But he's my only family. If he leaves, what do I do? My brother's dull gaze suddenly brightened up. Are you really going to talk to Dad? I stood in the doorway, reaching out, wanting to stop him as he got dressed. Whether on purpose or coincidence, my brother deftly avoided my hand and spoke with a level of seriousness I'd never seen. Sis, don't worry. I'm going this time to get back what's ours. He seemed to have forgotten how heartless Dad could be, convinced of his special place in Dad's heart. He lugged bags with him, seeming like he'd be staying there a while. I pitifully asked, You'll come back, right, brother? Pausing for a moment, he weakly smiled as he fastened his backpack. Of course I will, sis. Relax. His clunky, heavy figure gradually disappeared into the distance, and I seized the moment. But is he going to be okay, just going like that? Dad's woman is tough. Wouldn't it be better if he had something to protect himself with? The kitchen knife is nice, I sharpened it really well. He stopped, then shouted, echoing down the hallway. Sis, hand me a knife for self-defense. I gave him the knife I'd been honing ever since I was reborn, and watched him walk away without looking back, then shut the door decisively. That foolish brother of mine is heading into a mess, knowing how self-centered and cold that family is. It's either him, or Dad, who's not going to come out of this alive. With this rare free time, I caught up on my studies, then fell asleep without a care. Until the phone started ringing, jolting my eardrums. I got up lazily to answer it. Is this Clara? This is the police station. We received a report. Your brother was stabbed by your father and sent to the hospital. Upon hearing this news, I almost laughed in front of the officer, but I had to keep up appearances. I shrieked in shock, and then tearfully asked the officer for details. The police said for some reason, your brother and father had a heated argument. In the heat of the moment, he tried to stab Wendy. Dad grabbed the knife. After a tussle and some shouting, the knife ended up in your brother's heart. Then the officer kindly reminded me, your father's on the run. Be cautious, but don't worry too much. We're doing everything we can to catch him. If there's any danger, call the police. I thanked the officer between sobs, hung up, and buried my face in the pillow to muffle my happy shouts. Seems the fight's over between my brother and Dad. Dad's been on the lam for 3 days now. Since the news broke, Wendy, who was once so arrogant, is now shunned like a rat in the rain. Everyone's saying Dad went so far as to stab his son, because of that meddler's lover. The drama escalated quickly, and soon our whole family situation was dragged out online. Neighbors who knew our circumstances started spilling the tea. When they found out Dad not only took all the money, but also left behind his vegetative wife and kids, everyone lost it. Even more, when a video of me getting beaten up hit the web, people threw trash at Wendy's place for revenge. Wendy was scared and went back home. All that was left in the house were my grandparents, who thought they'd hit it big. Grandma freaked out and called the police, looking for some comfort, but they told her without evidence, they couldn't do anything for now. With nowhere to turn, Grandpa and Grandma bravely tried to step outside, but were spit back in by the angry crowd. So they snuck back to their old home in the dead of night. When Wendy's real identity was dug up, the company panicked, fearing stock drops. They clarified everything overnight. So Wendy isn't some heiress, but just a distant relative barely related. I had my suspicions all along. After all, what kind of rich heiress would be into Dad? And pregnant, wanting his baby? I learned from the cops that while my dad's been on the run, the bank caught him on camera hanging around. Looks like his escape isn't going well. Even if it means being caught on camera, he tried to get more cash. But there's no way he'd rob a bank, right? Sitting on the couch, I browsed through the news, expression unreadable, trying to figure out where Dad might go. If he can't find a place to hide and money's drying up, what will he do? A chilling, scraping sound in the door lock caught my attention. I looked up. At some point, the door's lock was being turned from outside. I moved closer, peeking through the peephole to see Dad's disheveled, vicious face outside. Too bad. I'd changed the locks as soon as the cops warned me to be safe. Dad was practically glued to the door, but with the wrong key, there was no way he'd get in. Clara, open the door. It's Dad. I moved to a spot where I couldn't be seen through the peephole, ready to call 911, but then thought better of it. Having the police just come and take Dad away seemed too easy on him. True despair coexists beneath hope. The most profound despair is when heaven turns into hell in just an instant. I pressed myself against the door, trying to make it seem like no one was home. But then I accidentally kicked the wall, making a sound loud enough for him to hear outside. I heard you. Open the door. Clara, please open the door, will ya? Once Dad heard the noise, he pounded on the door more fiercely. I couldn't open the door for Dad. The police told me to call them if I saw him. Dad's voice came through less mechanically, sounding more desperate. I know you're in there, I know. Please help your dad out. Well, yeah? You're my favorite, always have been. Was David hearing my thoughts through the door? Dad says I'm his favorite. That must be a lie. I need to call the cops. Through the peephole, I saw Dad's eyes almost popping out. Don't call the cops, Clara, I'm begging you. Don't call them. He looked pathetic. The police said he'd been on the streets all this time. Should I? Dad nodded wildly outside the door. No way, I can't soften. Dad's the murderer who killed my brother. But David's fragile state seemed even more shattered as he seemed to sense my inner struggle. Open the door. Clara, open the door for me. Clara, I'm begging you, open it. I decided to dangle the only hope Dad might have left. Dad's probably here for money. Mom did leave some for me. But I don't want to give it to him. I need to figure out a way to stall him. If Dad heads to the hospital to threaten Mom, we're screwed. Suddenly, there was silence outside. Dad stood there, pressing his venomous eyes right up to the peephole. In a menacing tone he threatened, Clara, you've got guts. Not gonna open, huh? Just wait. I'm going to the hospital, gonna unplug your mom. I finally answered Dad with doubt and disdain. You dare. You unplug Mom. I'll call the cops immediately. Dad was furious at this point. Stepping back, nodding. Alright, think I won't dare, huh, Clara? Watch me. I'm headed to the hospital. If you care about your mom, bring all your money with you. Through the peephole, I locked eyes with Dad's seething, angry face. I'm warning you, Clara, don't try to lie to me. I know what you're thinking, everything. I slowly trailed behind David. After making sure he entered the hospital, I stood outside, freaking out, asking the police for help. Clara, you need to go to the hospital now, stalled David. On the phone, the police calmly laid out the arrest plan. We'll be there soon. Since the hospital's public, try to keep him calm. Avoid unnecessary harm. I watched David incognito with his head down, enter the elevator and agreed hastily. Please hurry. I'm scared something will happen to my mom. When Dad saw me, he started grinning like crazy. Oh, Clara, if you just opened the door and given me the money, I wouldn't be here in the first place, huh? He had a knife against Mom's neck, holding the ventilator tube with the other hand, ready to cut off the supply. Dad, don't be rash. Seeing this, I gritted my teeth and knelt hard. I'm broke. All I have left is some part-time cash. I'll give you everything, all to you, Dad. Liar. Didn't your mom leave money for you? As Dad tightened his grip, a thin red line appeared on Mom's neck. My legs were weak. I'm not lying, I swear I'm not. In my mind, how did Dad know Mom left money for me? No worries, I called the cops. They'll be here soon. Dad wouldn't really hurt Mom. Almost instantly, Dad roared like a beast. You called the cops? Oh, Clara, how naive and stupid are you? I can abandon my wife and son, take all the money, and you think I wouldn't harm someone? A life means nothing. I killed Nolan. I can kill your mom too. Then Dad kicked a bunch of medical equipment, muscles tense, ready to pull the plug. At that moment, a commanding shout filled the room. Freeze! Police! David, drop the weapon now. Well-trained SWAT officers burst through the door. Dad's lips trembled, knowing escape was futile. He lashed out, stabbing at my mom lying in bed. The SWAT team quickly overpowered him. Dad, exhausted and scared after days of being on the run, was no match for them. Soon he was handcuffed and pinned down. As they dragged him away, he twisted his face into a sick grin, hoping to see me break down. Seeing me collapse in tears, he couldn't suppress his satisfaction, laughing sinisterly. But then my thoughts got through, making him cry out in misery. Even as they dragged him outside, his cries pierced the air, turning hoarse and rasping. In my mind, I said to Dad, "Thank you, my dear Dad, for helping eliminate my last two enemies in this life. You and Mom." On the day college entrance scores came out, TV invited me to give a speech. My scores weren't all that high compared to top students, just enough to reach double first-class status. More than that, the TV praised me for the vibrant life energy I exuded. I remember the award speech when I was named one of the top students in the city. They marveled at my unfortunate past and praised my resilience, likening it to a resurrection fern. Neither my broken family, nor the pain of losing a loved one could bring me down. I accepted all the honors with a clear conscience. I saved the prize money and scholarships, gearing up for my education in the later part of my life. I know the road ahead traveling alone won't be easy. But after what I've been through, nothing will stop me now. Honestly, I really liked the part where they compared me to a resurrection fern. Because, just like it, I came back to life. Thriving, resilient, and strong. The end.